Sound is.
Nick, a really important question for you, mate. How would you rate your fitness and your well-being?
Better than average, I'd say, because I do train. I don't think most people my age don't train, again, within my circle of community people, but I'd say better than average. What about yours?
Mate, I think since I stopped playing rugby league back in the day, probably not as good as it as it could be. Don't go to the gym anywhere near as often as I should, especially during COVID. A light got shined on people's health and well-being, didn't it?
Definitely did, yeah. But look, we're going to change that in you as well. So in summer, you're going to join our touch footy team.
I am.
Make sure you're going to turn up. You've said yes in theory, but you haven't turned up yet.
He's twisting my arm slowly. It'll happen. I don't know how far I'll be able to run, but we'll see what happens. Instant sub after every run. What do you reckon?
Classic. No, you'll be right, mate. You'll be one of the younger ones there too, by the way.
Probably. You're getting on in the years, mate. You're getting on.
Yes, I'm feeling it. As one of our guests knows, I do have a certain knee injury. It's called arthritis, apparently. It's kicking in, my age.
Get the Geritol out.
But one of our guests reckons he'll fix me up.
Very good. Well, that's one of the reasons why I've been asking you that question today, because the guys that we've got in the room today, and there are two of them, are very big in the world of, number one, martial arts, self-defense and whatnot, but also in the health and well-being space, aren't they?
Definitely. And they look like two massive front rows sitting here.
Mate, they look good. I don't want to get on the bad side of either of them. On that note, go back to the episode on pancreation, or pankration in Greek terms. I feel kind of similar today because those boys, the two cons, I felt like they could have belted the crap out of us.
Definitely. And then we had that social distancing then, didn't we? Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Deliberate social distancing.
We did. Well, look, I think it's important that we properly introduce our guest today.
Spill it,
what do you
mate.
reckon?
Tell our listeners who we've got in the room.
Our first guest is one of Australia's most accomplished martial artists and combat sports coaches. As an athlete, he represented Australia in MMA, wrestling, jiu-jitsu and grappling. He's been ranked number 1 in the world in mixed martial arts as well, Nick. He's been highly sought after as a coach internationally and has coached many Australian champions in wrestling, Brazilian jiu-jitsu and sports jiu-jitsu, and athletes internationally in mixed martial arts. He currently spends his time coaching at Boxing Works, as well as working as a wrestling and tackling coach for the Sydney Roosters NRL team, which we won't hold against him, but anyway, and the Sydney Swans AFL team, as well as working with many current top grapplers and fighters who come to him for his expertise. Joining us is the great Larry Papadopoulos. Larry, welcome, mate.
G'day.
Welcome,
Larry.
Yes.
Is this why the Roosters are doing well?
Aussie and Greek. Yeah, I'm actually not with the Swans anymore, but I'm with the New South Wales Waratahs as well.
Well, good to have you here, mate.
Welcome, mate. Welcome.
And also with us, our other guest today is also a former fighter who's currently helping people achieve their weight loss goals using a very Spartan approach without treadmills, running, exercise bikes, or hours in the gym. He focuses on weight loss using a unique diet in addition to load-bearing exercises without the aim of gaining bulk. In particular, he's worked with teenagers and overweight children to become fit and active individuals and is having particular success with obese children when all other methods have failed. We're, of course, talking about the local legend, Peter Manesis. Peter, welcome, mate.
Thank you for having me. It's an honour to be on your show, guys.
An honour to have you, mate,
Yeah,
and an honour to have both of you here as well, isn't it?
He's actually got an accomplished boxing career as well.
He does indeed, which we will go into. You've got probably an equally impressive career as the man sitting next to you, don't you?
I wish I was half of Larry, but anyway, I'll take it.
You're too humble, mate.
Thanks.
Dear. Well, on that note, let's get into the episode properly. What do you reckon,
Definitely,
Nick?
mate. Let's kick it off.
Yamas, gents.
Cheers, boy. This. Welcome.
Very good. That's the sound, isn't it?
I love it. It's like kicking off the episode, isn't it?
It is. That's the official kickoff for us. Nick, what are we drinking? It's a bit of a hodgepodge today, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Look, the boys are gone for the Mastika from Chios, thanks to the Greek Providor.
They have.
So, well, thanks to us for not finishing it off in our last episode. So, we had some left over.
We did an okay job of it. Normally, we're not up to the same standard as we used to be, are we, Nick?
It might be the what was his name?
George Buxinos.
George Buxinos episode that steered us away from drinking like how we used to.
He fucked us, didn't he?
I think he did. Yeah, fucked with our heads.
That's it. Well, at any rate, it's going down a treat. I'm on the Plomari. There's roots. There's Tsipuro somewhere hiding around
I've
here
gone
as well.
back to Tsipuro. Yeah, definitely. It's my go-to.
It is. Well, let's kick it off. Boys, obviously you have Greek background, which is part of the reason why you're here. Tell us a little bit about where you're from. Where are your parents from, Peter? Maybe we'll start with you.
Dad's passed away now, but he was from Andros, an island in Greece, Vavakanis, I think it was. And mum's from Tripoli mainland, close to Athens. I'm one of the Chorio there.
Perfect.
So I've been there, I've lived there for about 4 years, and it was a good experience.
Yeah. Were you born in Greece or
No,
here?
I was born here, but I went back there to live there because my brother had really bad asthma and he couldn't handle the Australian climate. So one of the doctors of Australia told us to go back to Greece just to put ease on his asthma.
Yeah, right. And did it work?
Yeah, from the first day he went there.
Really?
No asthma, went straight away.
And were you in Athens or did you go back to Tripoli?
Athens, yeah.
Okay. Have you gone back to Tripoli at all?
No, I went to Andros where my father's from, the island,
Yep.
but not back to Tripoli.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. There's a lot of hard men from Tripoli. We've had a few on the show.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
We
true.
were talking about this before you guys got here, that Tripoli is very close to Sparta. So there's a bit of Spartan element with the Tripoli Shotes. But anyway.
And what about you, Larry?
Mother's from Limnochori, which is just outside of Achaia in the Peloponnese.
Yes.
And Dad's Pontian. He was actually born in Moscow, Russia, as was my grandfather and we think great-grandfather. But they immigrated there in the 1800s, and then came back to Greece during the Second World War. So Mum's, real Greek.
Yeah.
And Dad is originally from the Mount Pontus, that I think Samsuda, the top of Turkey,
Right.
where all the Greek enclave was. So, and then that's where their family line's from. They went to Russia in Krasnodar, a place called the Ilskaya, which I was lucky to visit. And then, ended up in Greece, and then both emigrated to Australia, and I was born here.
They met over in Greece as well?
No, they met here.
Oh, right.
The typical kind of thing, came out here for a better life. Dad in 56, Mum in 60. A couple of years later, someone Dad was working with said, look, you want to get married? He says, yeah, know someone, and the typical kind of story. And that's how they got together. And unfortunately, like Pete's dad, my dad's passed away. Mum's still with us.
So they left in the 1800s from the Pontus region, went to Russia.
Yeah, there's a
Moscow.
lot of
So was
interesting talks about. They went there as tobacco growers because that area, Catherine the Great invited a lot of people there to.
Yeah.
I think what it is in
Caucasus?
Krasnodar, Kafkas, in the
Very
Caucasus,
good, Nick.
and so, in the Caucasus, and then when the Bolsheviks took over, they said. And the interesting thing is the Greeks there were always Greeks; they were never Russians unless they married Russians. So they maintained Greek citizenship, Greek religion, education, had their own schools. So you read about that. So, and then when the Bolsheviks took over and said, "Well, you're with Katerina, get out," so
Wow.
they left.
And they came to what? Athens?
Oh no, Thessaloniki. So that was there.
A lot of
and,
Pontians up there.
There are.
Is there much of a, or I don't know now, but would there be much of a Greek influence in that area, do you think?
in Krasnodar.
Yeah.
And around there. Oh yeah, there's still heaps of people of Greeks. Whenever you see Popov, it's like Papadopoulos.
Oh, really?
So,
right.
Popov, yeah.
So Popov is what? You could,
is the equivalent of Papadopoulos. So when
okay,
you see
and that's
it,
Greek, is it? Do you think?
Well, yeah, it is. I met one that was there. Who was
Yeah,
a
really?
Papadopoulos, but it's a Popov. It's quite interesting. It's like quite often I think Opoulos became Is, like Terzopoulos became Terzis, or there's all these different ways they changed them from the influences. So
It's interesting, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you can say can we claim Alex Popov then? The Greek? The swimmer?
Is that where you were taking it?
That's where I'm thinking.
you never know. He might have Greek roots.
Yeah. Oh, according to you, we're going to claim it now.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much for me to
No,
claim
it doesn't. We've got it stamped. Oh, dear.
Classic. Good stuff. And then you, obviously, your parents came out in the 50s and 60s? Or?
Dad in 56, Mum in 60, I think married in 62, married in 62, had first child at 63, me at 64, and another one later on.
Okay, so was it the Patrice they came out on?
No, Mum was Patrice, Dad was Tsimoglu. That's an interesting thing. A boat, it was really funny, apparently this boat, it was an Egyptian boat or something, and it's called Tsimoglu, and they just decided we're going to take people to Australia. So the ship sails out of Athens, goes through the Suez Canal and breaks down just near India. So it's stuck there for 3 weeks, and then finally moves on, goes around the bottom of Australia, turns up at Melbourne, and what are you guys doing here? What do you want? So this boat apparently arrives.
It's random, bro.
To bring immigrants to Australia. So it's quite an interesting story. It's if you go to the Maritime Museum, they've got a book of all the ships that came out and the story of that ship. That's why I know about it. So Dad told the story, but we didn't know how much it was true. And then when I actually read about it, it was... Yeah,
Wow,
it was exactly
so
what he said.
uninvited? No, we're just going to come
Well,
down.
someone said something to them. They went through the normal channels of emigrating. So,
All the names are there. If you go down there, you'll see them. They've got them all on the wall.
Oh, right,
For all
okay.
the immigration from Greece. Yeah.
it's funny when you guys look at us and say, well, we're big lads and whatever. What people don't realise is our parents, to come out here, had to pass through physicals, had to go through... You could not come to Australia unless you're healthy. So when you look at the generation of guys, Peter's, my generations, we're all very healthy stock. Like some of the healthiest guys, that's why we're all quite big and quite solid or healthy. We generally have good health. And it's true. You'll find that. Whereas the ones that came out later, where they weren't as picky with immigration on picking people that were, or selecting people or stopping people that had any kind of infirmity.
That's a great point that we've never really touched on before, because if you ask my papu, for example, who came out in 56, he remembers going from, because he'd moved originally from Corfu, went to Thessaloniki to live for a couple of years, and then went down to Athens before he came here. He was actually screened multiple times by doctors, and one of the things that they were looking at in particular was TB at the time. If there was evidence of TB or anything like that, that was pretty much it. You weren't going anywhere. Not sure if that's similar to your family or anything.
Yeah, I know my mum was in Athens for a good week with her dad, going through medicals and so forth. So, but that's all she talked about. It was very vague. She said, yeah, we had to go to all these doctors and so forth. But my parents are from the mountains, so deep in the mountains. It was just clean air, clean water, food off the mountains, or virtually vegetarian, like we've discussed. Only around Easter time and Christmas when the time they ate meat, because they weren't very rich. Only the rich people had all the cattle and so forth. But yeah, that was it. You're right. They had to be a very healthy stock to come out. They weren't just taking anyone out.
Yeah, that was the truth, and that's why it's funny. A lot of people say, "How come, like Aussies, and how come you wogs are so big?" And
it's a great
it's just
point.
like we were.
And you're right. I never get sick. I never get the flu. My sister, my brother, we never get sick, and we've always been quite healthy that way. So
we inherited good genes. I can tell you that. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. What about your parents, Pete? Do you know much about their story coming out?
Yeah, Dad left from a young age. Mum was from a family of 4, so they came from a poor family as well. So, yeah, basically she had to be kicked out and married back in those days because they couldn't feed all the kids. So she came from a poor family. So they met each other, I think, in Australia, my parents. Yeah, so...
I've met your mum.
Yes.
How old's your mum now, if you don't mind saying?
68, yeah.
I've seen her train. Tom, you should see his mum train.
Yeah.
Mate, she's like she's
So mum trains 4 days a week with me, religiously.
Yeah.
she's lifting weights
Works
and
2
squatting.
jobs, 7 days. Yeah.
He was telling me before you boys came, he's like, yeah, his mum.
We actually call her the richest woman in Coogee. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, funny.
Mate, she's a
She
machine.
loves
your mum.
working, and she's always happy with a smile on her face.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, never has days off. You don't get these working class, I call them athletes, Yeah.
No, your mum's the best. I've seen you a couple of times in action.
Yeah.
And you're telling your mum, come on, mum, one more. And then she's sitting there, she's doing the squats and whatever the drill is at the time.
She's unbelievable. Helps out with the gym, the cleaning.
Yeah.
Helps my wife because we've got 3, young kids, and it's a busy lifestyle. I can't ask for anything else.
3:30, mate. Your boys are massive.
Yeah.
he's done well, obviously.
Passing on the good genes.
Exactly. I was going to say, what is your relationship nowadays with your Greek heritage? Are you into it? Do you inspire that, instill that in your kids as well?
Definitely, yeah. So I'm part of the St. Catherine's committee there with the Greek Orthodox Church. Greek's been my background, even the Spartans and the way I used to go into the ring. Actually, the blood gas that runs through my veins. It's very patriotic. A lot of my teachings comes from the Spartan way of living, the way I train my children. You look at the Spartans, they were well prepared when they used to go to war. You don't see many athletes now prepared well, you know. So, yeah,
Definitely.
my Greek heritage is very big, and
Definitely. And you attended church today, you said. So
we attended church today.
And your sons are...
Both of the boys are in the altar, the Papadopoulos.
Yep, good Greek boys. There you go.
Yeah, definitely. But have you always been involved with the church, or that's just come late?
Like, growing up, I had a really bad past, you know, involved with gangs and stuff, and something bad had to really happen to me, which I really don't want to go into about it. I had a change, and I had to go towards God, and I asked for God if He would help me. I wouldn't look back, and I haven't since then. It's been about 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah, since I've been married, and I've just had blessings every single day from there.
Wow.
Because you were in a bit of a bad patch there, weren't you, for a while? And how did you come out of it, do you think? What was your first sign where you admitted to yourself, shit, I need help here?
Talk about depression, it must have been to the lowest state of my life.
Yeah.
I was very overweight to 133 kilos, involved with bad crowds. It was time for me to do a 360 degree, or my life would be in a disaster.
Anyway, I'm sure we're going to get into it a bit more, but what you've done to these young kids and people with illnesses and so forth is just mind-blowing, but we're going to get into that later for sure.
What about you, Larry? What about your connection to your Greekness and for you and your family?
When I was younger, not as much. I didn't really appreciate it. And then when I started travelling a lot overseas, competing or refereeing when I was doing stuff, I'd then started to go via Greece. And I met up with some Greeks that were over there, like made friends. It's funny, when we all go to Greece, we probably when we first go there, we meet up with our cousins.
Yep.
And, generally, my mother's siblings, they were farmers, so, educated, but not, like university educated or whatever they did, And I met friends. One was a banker and one was a physiotherapist. And that was through martial arts. And I became really good friends with them, and I really got an education in learning about ancient Greek, learning about Greek politics. Like they even met Papadopoulos, the dictator. Yeah, they went and saw him while he was in his jail. These are really interesting cats. And then
no relation.
No, George. Yeah. But no, and then I really...
Not that he can admit to anyway.
It really got into Greek music, and then probably from, it was the 2000s onwards. Prior to that, I was so focused on sport and doing stuff. It was very much, Australian, and then not really appreciating that. And then now I do appreciate the roots. It's funny when people say, "Oh, you're an Aussie." The only analogy I can say is like everybody's parents are Greek here. Yeah. So you really, the term Australian-born Greek is what we are, because if I'll give you an example, you buy a German Shepherd. And you mate that German Shepherd with another German Shepherd in Australia, it doesn't become an Australian Shepherd, does it? It's still going to be a German Shepherd.
Correct.
Good two Greeks.
That's a good point.
We're Greek.
Yeah.
That's why I look at it. We're always going to be Greek.
That's true.
When you start marrying and your kids are half this or half that, and then you start getting that culture as well. So that's how I feel like I learnt more about my dad's background and really appreciated my mum's background, and mum more on the religious side. They both had adversity, both lost their fathers during the war. The typical story, worked to death by the Germans or whatever else it is. And
did they die in battle, do you know?
No.
Just your
granddad, my father's, whose name I got Lazarus, he was working, he got emphysema or something. They took him up in the mountains and he passed away out there. I was so fortunate when I was in Greece one year. We went to Kastolia, was where he's. It's weird actually going to the church where the bones are buried, and seeing Papadopoulos, this Lazarus Papadopoulos. There's quite a few Lazarus Papadopoulos there. I've never seen my name on a tombstone before.
Wow!
So he was. He got very ill, just from pneumonia. I don't know what it was. They just said pneumonia. And then Mum's father, the Germans at Araxo, they were building an airfield there, so they had the local Greeks pick up stones and lay road. He got his arms crushed with something, and he got sepsis, and he died just of blood poisoning years later, not months later afterwards. So they both died during the war. So both grandmothers were hitters who had to find ways of supporting the family. And it's amazing. I don't know if your parents, they wouldn't have grown up during the Second World War. They did.
No,
That-
just
that-
after.
The stories of the Germans and things that happened during. I know Mark was talking about stuff, and Mark and I talk about it all the time. Stories of my grandmother, for instance, hiding a Jewish guy that was in Thessaloniki when they were there. Or the most interesting one is my mum's side. Her younger sister, they were all quite fair. You look at me, I'm hairy like a gorilla, but my mum's side, my dad didn't have a hair on his body. Totally hairless. Mum's side, the men are pretty hirsute, but the women are very fair. And during the war, her younger sister, Theoni, was born, and she was blue-eyed, fair hair, and the German sergeant that was there saw the baby one day and walked up and said, basically, I'll give you some extra food or whatever in the town. Can I take the baby for a drive? So they pick up the baby because it reminded of his child in Germany.
Oh, wow.
And drive around. That's an interesting story. I mean, they were human too. Everything. You get them near, animals or whatever, but not all of them were Nazis. So, but hearing stories like that is quite interesting.
Wow.
Fascinating.
I just got to chill with that one.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, both stories.
Dad remembers bombs going off. Like, I mean, when you speak to that generation of Greeks, unfortunately they're all going now.
Yeah.
Because they're all in their 80s plus as kids.
Yep.
Just horrific stuff. People getting blown up, and that's what I mean. The current thing that's happening, like in Ukraine with Russia and Ukraine, you just people don't understand war, and I mean, we've never been to war. I don't think any of us.
Yeah.
People that have just know how horrible it is.
Yeah.
Regardless of who's right and wrong, just war should not happen. So,
Agreed.
Like, do you think we're a lot smarter humans now that can, throw in diplomacy rather than go to war?
But we just don't learn, do we?
Money always involved diplomats and politicians.
Do you know much about your grandparents, Pete?
My mum's mother lived with us. Mum's dad passed away from a very early age in the army. I met my dad's both parents, and they've already passed away as well. Yeah, from the country, lived with the sheep, up on the mountains.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Were they involved with World War II at all?
I think they were, but I couldn't remember a story. Yeah, maybe because I stayed in Australia and away from them a long time too.
Yeah, right. Maybe you got to hit up your mum for some stories.
Yeah, maybe.
Obviously, you boys both grew up, by and large in Australia. So many of the other people that we've spoken to, particularly guys that have ended up in sport, have mentioned the fact that they got into their sport or whatever, partially because of the racism that they experienced. Did you guys experience any of that? Is that something that resonates with you guys? Did you experience racism growing up in this country?
Definitely. I went to about 5 high schools because I used to have fights after school every day because of racism. I had a really bad accent, and I copped it at school,
Wow.
Yeah, I was at Janali Boys, Blakehurst High, and especially Janali Boys, every time I used to open my mouth, it was a fight after school. So that's why I got into boxing as well.
Yeah.
Just to have a little bit of self-defense.
Yeah, right.
When did you get into boxing?
17 years old,
Okay, that's pretty late.
But it was late, but it was a constant battle from high school, Both parents were strict. We couldn't tell Dad anything that I got into a fight at school because I'd cop it again. So
Yeah.
There'd be round 2.
Yeah.
Classic.
So
Experience. I went to Picnic Point High School. That's as Aussie as it comes.
Yeah, there you
Was
go.
it like Spot the Wog? Like you already had a target? Yeah.
I was the only Greek
Everybody
kid
was blonde haired.
but I was blonde hair, but the only person with an accent at that school. That's why I was,
Yeah.
We're the only Greek in the school?
That's right. The
Really?
only Greek at the school.
Wow.
Same.
Really?
My sister and I were the only Greeks.
Yeah, wow.
Kidding.
It's like-
Picnic Point.
Later on, I found out one girl who, something Barber, a good house, she ended up being Greek, but hid it. It was quite common for Greeks to hide there. Would change their names to blend in.
Yeah.
Like I remember my mother's, they moved to America, her cousin, and changed from Yiannopoulos to Johnson
Yeah.
to fit in. That's very common in US, but in Australia, it's amazing how many people shorten their names. or
Same
change.
as me. I was Petros, and I changed it to Peter because of
Yeah.
people making fun of my name. Petro, they used to call me.
Yeah.
But I didn't look at it as Saint Peter. I looked at it as people bullying me back in those days,
Yeah.
So that's why I changed mine to Peter. But
I can just imagine Janelli Boys High School, how bad that was. As bad as mine.
yeah.
Well, Dad changed his name because he found out that on his birth certificate it was like the Greek name, and he was just like, "That's not happening, mate."
Well, there's a family around here, they changed their surname to Park, which is, I think, the first 4 letters of their surname. He's a lawyer now.
Okay.
He reckons he had his name in the phone book, and he'd get calls from all these Koreans because Park now is a Korean surname in the late 90s or whatever it was, or 2000s. And everyone thinks I'm bloody Korean because he gets all these Korean clients now because of the surname. But it was quite funny. He changed it, but now it's a derivative of a Korean surname. It's quite funny.
Can I tell you a story just to give you an anecdote of racism in Australia? It's funny. I only thought of this a couple of years ago. We were talking about school, and this just shows you the ignorance of Australians back in the 60s, 70s. I was at not infants, but the primary school. So I think I would have been about 8 or 9. And back then, I don't know if they did at your school, some kids would be the runners and bring a note to the classroom, and then the kid comes in and she goes, "Oh, Larry, the principal wants to see you." I thought, "Oh, shit, what have I done?" So I go to the principal. He goes, I always remember this. He goes, "I want you to go down to the infants to go see Mrs. Nolan. She was the principal down there." So I went down there and I go into the room, and I always remember there was Mrs. Nolan and Mrs. Powell, I think was the other teacher, and this dark, swarthy kid. And I always remember because he had this big cheesy grin. He reminded me of the Tasmanian Devil off the cartoons. And she goes, "Oh, Larry, come in." And she goes, "Look, Larry, we've got a new student here, and we don't know where he's from. He doesn't speak English. And we thought if you could speak to him in Greek, maybe he'll understand you." And she goes, "Larry, this is Mahmoud Mohammed."
Wow.
Anyway, I would know that. So I started saying, "Tikanis." Yeah. What's your name? And speaking Greek.
Yeah.
So this kid's just looking at me going, just didn't know what to say. And they go, "Okay, I don't think he understands me." And "Oh, thank you, Larry." So
and these are the teachers.
You couldn't make that story. That's how ignorant. They just thought, we'll get the little wog kid from there. We've got another new little wog kid here. And we'll see if they can talk to each other. Wogs. And that was it. But I think that kind of racism happened from very early. And it wasn't that kind of a kid's, I got picked on, got into fights like Pete. I probably didn't fight as much as Pete because I was always a pretty big kid at that time. So once I got bigger, they left me alone. But it just shows you the teachers back then were also quite ignorant, which also breeds a bit of racism as well. So
yeah, but we've had a lot of guests like that too, haven't we, Tom? Like I know George Ellis touched on it a couple of times. He goes, because it's really difficult for our generation. If we go to Greece, we're like Australians, we're not really Greek. And in Australia, you're not really Australian, you're Greek. And George summed it up well, didn't he? He goes, we're our own Greek-Australian sort of race. He goes, we're quite independent.
Strangers in both countries.
Yes.
Yeah. But he summed it up well. But what you've said, Larry, and you too, Pete, we've had a lot of guests come on and say the same thing. I weren't really connected with their Greek culture growing up, even me. So I'm a lot older than Tom. It wasn't cool to be Greek. We sort of kept our culture, but internalised it. We weren't really... We were sort of proud, but internal, but we wouldn't share it with everyone else.
I think the Greeks got upset that we left then. We came to Australia. Don't forget that. So when we go back, they do call us the Australian.
Oh, they appreciate it now. Yeah. They love it. We got brothers in Australia, brothers in the US and so forth. But growing up, that's how I felt too. And I didn't connect with my Greek culture until around 2000. I went to Greece in 95 actually, went backpacking, and I thought, what am I embarrassed about? Because I didn't want to talk about the Greek culture. I was a bit embarrassed with my Aussie mates, my footy mates, because they'd mock you and laugh, and I thought, well, I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to get mocked and laughed. But after a while, it became, what am I embarrassed about? What a great culture. And then, like you said, you learn about the music, the food, and everything else, and since then, we've got a fucking podcast over it now, don't we? so
just lean into it. That's the message, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But we've got nothing to be embarrassed now. And a lot of Greeks are coming out now, and they're proud of their culture and heritage. So, no, it's a good thing. But yeah, look, you would have had a tough time, far out. The only Greek in the school, and is that how you became good at fighting, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
A lot of practice.
Yeah.
So tell us just a little bit about your boxing career, because we haven't really touched on it.
I was boxing. I started with my brother. He started boxing at Dassville Police Boys Club. Yeah, so I used to go in there, watch him train, and there was guys like John Maceda, Glenn Kelly, Kevin Kelly. Yep. There was a couple of Olympians there, like Justin Crawford. So we would just go there, and I was mesmerised by how hard they used to train. So I tried it out as well. My brother had about 2 or 3 amateur fights. And then
so your brother's younger, is he?
He's younger, yeah.
Yeah.
He's not here with us anymore.
Yeah.
He passed away.
Yeah.
But, then I started fighting. Yeah.
And you went and you won a couple of... Did you win an Australian belt?
I missed out on the Olympics. I fought Danny Green at the Aussie titles. I missed out.
You're right.
That was
I represented
controversial.
Australia at many occasions. I would have been about top 20 in the world as an amateur.
Yeah.
I fought at the King's Cup. I got a silver medal. So I've done a couple of big tournaments, Oceania Games. But I missed out on the Olympics and I turned pro with Jeff Ennick. I got to number 2 in Australia as a professional.
Mm-hmm. How many fights did you have?
I had 7 fights for 6 wins. I lost in the Australian title. We got a split decision. I fought Jason DeLisle. He was a much better fighter than me. And
some big names you're mentioning. Like these aren't no slouches in that group of people.
And a lot of reach on you. I know Jason's a lot in Crawford.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And Danny Green, you went the distance, obviously.
Yeah, went the
distance. It was a
distance.
split decision. You got close to winning that, didn't you?
Yeah. Very close fight. I beat Justin Crawford at Coogee Bay Hotel. That was one of my biggest wins. He was like a 2-time Olympian.
You mean
Crawford.
in Coogee Bay, not the pub, in the
Yeah,
ring?
the pub. They put the fights on at Coogee Bay.
That's
pub.
Selena's?
At Selena's, yes. We had the State of Origin New South Wales team there, so it was a really big event. Arthur Tunstall actually said he's never seen an amateur boxing fight like that in his life. We got fight of the tournament by far, you know.
Really?
We got a shower back then of more than $1,000. I was the first Australian to beat Justin Crawford. That was a big opening, opened up the doors for me to go. I started the Australian Institute of Sport. I represented Australia, went on a couple of trips. It was a good experience.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And there weren't many Greeks at that time fighting?
The couple, there's another kid, Peter Petro. He was in the Australian boxing side too, but he was a younger kid.
Yeah.
But not many, no.
And what about yourself, Larry? Tell us a bit about your fighting career.
Oh, legend in my own lunchbox. As they say, the older I get, the better I was.
Better the story.
No, look, I kind of fell into it. I had a fascination with martial arts as a kid. Did judo when I was 10. Started doing jiu-jitsu with my first proper coach when I was about 15. And when I went to uni, had the opportunity to continue judo and just started doing a bit of boxing. I was competing in anything back then, judo tournaments. I competed in karate, kempo, kung fu. I just because I was one of the kids, because I wasn't a natural, I didn't get into fights. Or I'd avoid fights or people who would avoid me. And I always wondered what would happen in real life. So the closest thing I could do was competing. So I competed in amateur martial arts, things like jiu-jitsu and, like I said, karate tournaments and whatever. I had the opportunity in 93, some talent scouts from Japan were looking for fighters to fight this thing called pankras, which is basically based on pankration. And they approached, it was fun, it's a hilarious story. We used to have a small gym on Pitt Street on the first level, 249 Pitt, and it used to be, the monorail used to go past. And this Japanese tourist who was a writer for a sports magazine happened to look through at that moment and see people training, punching, kicking, throwing, doing whatever, just because it was right near the stop.
That's how they found you.
So he gets out and comes up, walks through the door and, didn't understand a word of English or Japanese, took some pictures, whatever, and took off. And he put an article in Japan, because I got the article later. It says kakutogi in Australia. Kakutogi means mixed martial arts or whatever, training. And the promoter saw it and said, Australian fighters, maybe these guys, because they were looking for people that could do everything, punch, kick, throw, grapple on the ground. Now, one day this guy comes through, a guy called Greg Smith, an Australian guy with 2 Japanese people. He goes, we're here from World Pankras. We're looking for people that would be interested in fighting. And I said, okay, yeah. And they showed us some videos, and this is before UFC or anything, so we were like...
So we're talking, 1980s now?
This is 93.
Oh, 93.
92, 93.
92.
I think the first UFC was 93. It was the year that they approached us. So it was like, wow, you get to do everything. I thought, okay, yeah, I'm interested. And that's how I started fighting in that. So that was my kind of professional career. So up until then, I'd competed representing Australia at sports jiu-jitsu, which was kind of an MMA. It was like full body contact, touch, or they called it semi-head contact, but you could get sparked. So I was used to that kind of, but it was in a uniform, so it wasn't like current fighting. So I'd represent Australia in 88, 90 and 92. And that was my national representation in jiu-jitsu, and because I was doing wrestling, but I was doing Greco-Roman. Greco-Roman wasn't very popular in Australia, so you would never go overseas if you were a Greco-Roman champion. But I did it because I enjoyed it.
Yep.
And then, so I fought professionally, but I also maintained grappling. So we represented Australia in 2001, 3 and 5 in grappling, submission grappling. And then also the last time I competed in wrestling was 2016, went to the 2015 World Veterans Championships for wrestling. So I was kind of at the early stages of these sports. So for me, it was an opportunity. Nobody else was doing it. So they said, well, do you want to do it? And we said, yeah, we'll do it. But if you looked at the level that we were at back then compared to the level now, chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
But it's like any sport, it develops over time.
Yeah.
So I was very good at the time for what I did. I was quite fortunate that I kept competing and eventually ended up with a number 1 ranking for my weight class. Then when I did have a title fight, it ended up being a draw. So I never won a world title, unfortunately. It was just ranked number 1, fought the number 2. And then moved on from it, stopped fighting and just did other stuff because I valued my brain cells. So no, it was just, I got a knee injury actually. So, and it was, I couldn't, so it was a second knee reconstruction. It was kind of, it's a bit hard, kicking and stuff. So, yeah.
So you fought in Japan though. You fought against some big names in Japan, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, at the
I
time,
saw the
Ken
video
Shamrock was the top of the, he was top of the food chain back then, though he'd lost to Hoist Gracie. Look, it was an opportunity. I didn't beat him or anything. He beat me up, but it was, and for me, it was, I took that idea that a loss is you're learning. So I probably, unlike Peter probably has more of a warrior inside him. I was very much kind of wanted just to be better, and I didn't have that. And fighters have got to have an ego. You've got to want to be that champion. I never really had that until right near the end when I started to feel that I was as good, because I always doubted whether I was that good. I didn't know. I was challenged, then go to the next guy, so I probably lost more than I won, but I got better as I went. And I remember my last fight, they said, shit, you're 36 and you're better than you were when you were 30. I was like, because I'm still learning, it was
Always learning.
Yeah.
So you saw it more of as like an art form as opposed to the warrior mentality?
It was just something I just always learning. I still, like as you get older, people will tell you physically decline, but you technically go up. And I think that's what people didn't appreciate. That I was lucky that, or not lucky, I did my first knee when I was about 20. So that kind of stopped me on my projection with judo. I was actually very good at judo. Then I stopped doing judo. That's why I got into Greco-Roman, not freestyle, because I didn't want people grabbing my legs. And then that kind of meant I didn't peak. So I was getting better as I was getting older, because I really started training more seriously from about 27 onwards, whereas most guys have seriously trained from 19 onwards, and you peak around about 27. So that's what freaked most guys out. That my last actual competition at open category I was 41, and I was beating all the young guys, and they were like freaking out. They go, "What are you on?" I'm like, "Nothing, man. I'm just natural. I just train hard. I know how to train." And it was just a learning thing. It was you meet positive influences. You meet people like Peter that tell you how to train properly. See, that was one thing when I was younger. I didn't know that, and then I met some really good trainers that put me on. You said Peter Petro, because he used to train at what's the one just off Oxford Street? Woolloomooloo. And that was I forget there was a Kiwi trainer there that we had. Okay. He was a boxing trainer, I think his name, and the Australian boxing coach was there, the guy that moved up to Townsville.
Paddy Howard, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just finding the right people. Then I found a really good wrestling coach, a Russian guy that had emigrated here, Sam Feigelson, who was a real mentor. And he was like from the Russian system. So he then said, okay, this is how you train. We were like, holy shit, this is different to what they do in Australia.
What is it about those guys? Because they're always so good in those sports, aren't they?
He told us professionally what the Russians would do is they get the best coaches and say, okay, you get together and they would look at situations. How would we deal with this situation? That's on a technical level. So they would workshop stuff, which I think boxing's pretty much like, it's my technique, that's not your technique, and people don't share as much. That's a real problem with Australian athletes, because we're such a small pool. How many times did you fight the same guy? You might fight one guy 5 or 6 times because there's nobody else to fight.
Yeah, right.
That's in boxing. I noticed that a lot. I didn't never box, but
3 guys, I fought a guy. And don't forget, Australia, we don't fight enough as well. Like you look at the Russians, 400 amateur fights, 200 amateur fights. That's like a fight a week.
Yeah.
We're nowhere near that. Yeah.
In Russia, is it true they used to wrestle bears?
well, there's videos of
Who was that?
the UFC fighter. Yeah, when he was a kid, he was wrestling a bear. Khabib Nurmagomedov. Yeah.
You can't compete with that.
I just think that's crazy. It's just like, I don't know if I'd wrestle a bear. But people reckon when they wrestle me, it's like a bear. I'm hairy. And
you look like you could
grab on to.
But yeah, look, I think, it's just the systematic pedagogy of coaching in the ex-Soviet. Why did the Cubans become so good? Because the Soviets influenced. They went there and then the Cubans, their boxing stories are amazing.
Amazing.
They take the kids off the street and they go, okay, put some gloves on, belt each other. The kids that shy and turn away, go away. The kids that want to fight, that's probably why you became a boxer, because you're a bit of a street fighter. You find most of the good fighters, like Jeff Fennick's story, walked in and said, I want to fight. He said, fuck off. And then he goes, put some gloves on this bloke. And he belted someone. They said, shit, this guy can fight. He knew nothing. Just get in the ring. And then he started training Fennick. So, and in Cuba, that's what they do. They just pick them up off the street. Wow. And if they're good, they keep them there. Okay, you guys go to ballet or wrestling. The boxers stay here. And that's...
Well, they say it's an immigration thing as well. So if you look at the States, the first good boxers were the Irish, then the Italians, because it was just a wave of immigration.
Don't forget the Jews. A lot of good Jewish boxers, apparently.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Okay. There's a thing called when boxing was a Jewish sport.
Oh, wow.
In the States, apparently, boxing was all Jewish fighters.
Yeah.
Max Baer was... guys like that. Yeah.
Because then you go through the century or the generations, and you got the Mexicans, then the Cubans, and now you got the Africans come through. So it's like
poverty, poor people.
Hungry.
You fight or you don't eat.
Yep.
That's how it is.
It's a good way to get out of it. If you're not educated or anything, get into the ring, and you can probably earn a living out of it.
Well, look at my parents and. Pete's parents, they came out here for a better life, so there was opportunity for them, so they became healthier and, maybe not sport, but in work and stuff like that.
Work hard.
Yeah, in the States, those poor people, you're looking at those communities, the Irish were pretty poor in that. It was, in the States, black guys recently, what was the 3 ways out of the ghetto? Through education, through entertainment, or sport. 3 ways out.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I think for Greeks in Australia, probably very similar. When they came here, what do? Some of them got educated. So you've had that. You've had athletes and entertainers.
True.
So,
moving on from your actual sporting pedigrees and whatnot, what actually made both of you go into coaching and trying to use that experience to influence the next generation?
Basically, there was something missing in my life, and I still see it now with a lot of kids, how they're not well prepared. And I believe if you have a good program, anything's possible, because I think military, sport and business, a well-prepared person can do anything in life. And I believe kids these days are not well prepared. You get a coach now, go run around the block. Science has moved too far. Science has moved very forward now, and you look at that athletes, they're bigger, stronger, more powerful because of science and the way things are. And that's why I got... I was in the gym with lifting weights from a very young age. I had sponsors. Guys like Titan Fitness used to sponsor me. So I lived in the bodybuilding gym a lot. But there was a little bit more through mobility, flexibility that was missing there. Plyometrics. Yeah, everybody thinks training is just training, but there's an art towards it to make the optimal athlete. And I truly believe that I found it. Just seeing the results. I've got national swimmers, national Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athletes. They get in there and they even break arms. I had one of my athletes break his opponent's arm, and he fought. He had to give 5 kilos away. So, if an athlete does lift weights properly, he's going to have an advantage. You can see that with the Rugby League teams too now. Yeah. Like this, you get teams in the top 8 and you see the other teams in the bottom 8. They're not just good enough. So, performance, you can see it's the performance, what's happening now.
You talk a lot about techniques and all the... some of the science behind it, but how much of this is your mindset and the way that you
100%.
the mental state of all of these individuals.
Definitely. I think we live in a world where, children are too much on their phones, first of all, and they've lost that mindset, that hunger. But I believe they can get it back if they have a good training program. Children find their hunger again, There's a lot to it, breathing mechanics, even cold showers, just making the uncomfortable comfortable. If children can get back to the old, there's a saying now, the old has become new. Yeah, so
do you think society is, in your view, what's changed in the last, say, 20, 30 years?
Definitely society. I think kids are growing up much softer lives. Yeah. Parents are living a busy lifestyle, so children are not looked after properly now. We have double-story houses. Kids are up there on their phones. They're not going to bed early. Even, they're staying up late, TV, eating unhealthy. There's a lot to play with it. Nutrition's a big factor. A lot of people are not eating properly. I see 12-year-olds doing diets. It's silly. Yeah. People got to understand about carb loading, how to eat, timing. It's everything. It comes down to the milliseconds, as I say, that make the 1%ers, so...
It sounds like it's very all-encompassing as well. Like, there's not one part of, the individual's life that this approach doesn't touch. I mean, you've mentioned obviously the training itself, the diet, all those little 1%ers as well. Right. Tell us a little bit about the sort of Spartan approach to that. We mentioned a little bit about that in the intro, but what does it actually mean from your end?
You look at the Spartans, they had a quite Malon Lave, and you look at all the commanders all over the world, they've got the patch on their wrists, Malon Lave. So, and there's another word, Elanataparis, because they used to know when they used to go to war, they prepared war from a young age and they were ready to fight. Majority of athletes, young kids, are not ready for sport. That's why they're going out there doing all these injuries. They're doing the ACLs. I see a lot of ACLs injuries from a young age. Yeah.
So they say the Spartans they train it from 7 years old. There's a myth out there that they say kids at a young age shouldn't be doing weights. What's your view on that?
Can I just say something? Look at Mike Tyson when he had Castamado. He was one of the optimal athletes of all time. At the age of 18, he had won a world title. At least when Mike Tyson lost his coach, he lost his ways as well. And I believe young children need a form of coach. Even my three boys, I get them to train with Larry because Larry's an excellent tackling coach. And I believe this year they're all going to make rep team because Larry's training methods on how to tackle. So I think it's very important that kids find themselves a good coach and get mentored by them because it's something that is missing these days. Yeah.
Do you think they should start as a 5-year-old? Would you recommend
100%.
How old is
Definitely.
too young,
You can also start them with foam roller mobility, light weights, movement, just body weight stuff. You got to start them from young because when they get old, they're not going to want to do it after. They're going to be.
Does it stun their growth? Because there's
not
discussion out there. Larry,
I've done courses.
That's been the myth, hasn't it?
It has been a very big myth. I've got 3 boys. My 15-year-old's 110 kilos, and he's 6 foot. He's got a size 15 shoe, and I started him lifting weights from the age of 2. So I've got case studies.
And he's got massive hands.
Yeah, I've got 7-year-olds. I train 6-year-olds.
I shook his hand. He dwarfed mine.
He's like a bear.
And how? So again, back to that. So doesn't it impact your ligaments or your joints?
You're not going to put a heavy bar on the backs, and you've got to be careful with overhand presses and stuff. So you've got to get someone that knows what they're doing as well.
Yeah.
You're not going to put heavy weights on a child from a young age.
Yeah.
It's called overload progression. You start them with a bar or very light bar, and you work your way up with push-ups. A lot of people can't do chin-ups. My kids can't do chin-ups. So that's why I introduce them the lat pull down, a lightweight, So you progress things,
So we can cross that out as a myth. It won't stun your growth.
No way. Won't
it's
stun.
Bullshit, guys. Myth busted.
Done. Larry, I see you shaking your head there.
No, I was agreeing with everything you said.
Yeah, like with
you obviously don't overload kids.
That's right,
yeah. It's just, and the big term, unless you're you don't overload kids.
Yeah.
And the big term, unfortunately, that CrossFit has tried to eliminate is adaptation.
Yeah.
You hear CrossFitters go, adaptation's the enemy. And what adaptation is when you train up to this level, your body recovers, and then it adapts. It comes back up at a higher level. So you train, recover, adapt, train, recover, and you keep going up. So what Peter's saying is that kind of adaptation for kids, start with body weight, medicine balls, then go to dumbbells, then you go to a bar, band. So kids,
Bands,
kids
for
are
instance, are fantastic. You can get them from Rebel, the bands, and I think they're better than cable machines because they've got resistance on both, on the eccentric and the concentric phase. So bands are fantastic for young kids once start their growth,
And this is a combination of resistance and their own weight.
That's
that
right.
we're talking about, isn't it?
Body weight as well.
Okay, so would you get a 3-year-old doing push-ups and so forth?
Everyone's different.
Have you seen like when they go to the JCVille PCYC, they've got a gymnastics class for 3-year-olds where they're tumbling, rolling, climbing.
Yeah.
That's a form of training and coordination, and that's obviously they don't.
Get them coming to the gym, watching things.
But I've seen some people have like plastic barbells for kids, little babies learning. Like, it's funny, if you watch a small child squat, they do a perfect squat. Just sit straight down, ass to grass. As we get older, because we sit too much. Yeah. What do you say about sitting? Is the new?
It's a new smoking. Sitting, people people do an hour at the gym. They think that's enough. No, you got to be walking, standing, trying to interact. Because movement, people got to try and bring movement back.
Well, the sedentary lifestyle is what's killing most of us, isn't it?
The workstations, you've got those ones where you can stand and work.
Yes.
So because they've realised people sitting.
Fantastic.
But like I said, with the small child, you watch, they will perfectly do a squat. So why do we lose that? Why do we become tight? Because we don't train movement. So with kids, I think we train more movement, coordination, balance, and then we add resistance as they get older. And it's just progression. It's just learning. And again, you need a competent coach. I don't coach as many young kids as Pete. I used to years ago, and just the path that my professional life's taken me is to professional sports. So unfortunately, I miss out on those kids. That's why I love doing his kids, because they're raw. But I'm working with high-end athletes. So, and then I'm learning because I'm watching some of the best strength and conditioning guys in the country, working with those guys, and other elements of sport. But when you talk about coaching, Pete did talk about it. There's 3 things. There's the science, which you can read in the books. There's the philosophy behind why you coach. You've got a Spartan philosophy. But then there's the art of coaching. And obviously he's got the art of coaching because he has a lot of success. Because you can have all the science, you can have the philosophy. If you don't know how to impart that, or how to... the art of coaching, the way of doing that, then forget it. So
just look at Wayne Bennett. What's he doing with the Dolphins,
Absolutely.
First year, there's an art of coaching.
Great example.
Just a good orator, a good way of delivering the message.
Great man manager. I've worked with him once, and like one year for the Kiwi squad when they won the World Cup, and he just gets in their ears and talks to them and about self-belief. And from what I've heard, like, he doesn't do much of the technical coaching. He leaves that to the assistants, but he has a good... It's like Trent Robinson at the Roosters. Fantastic coach, because he has a vision, he has a plan, he works with all the staff, and then he trusts the staff in their areas to do that, to be part of that plan. So he has that, what they call a veranda view, sits up, looks at everybody, and if he spots something, then he'll get involved. But he doesn't have to get involved if the people are following the plan and doing the right thing.
So they're more of a mentor now, these great coaches now.
That's part of it, So
they don't get into the detail as much.
Oh no, he's still. I mean, he's very technical. He's for the Roosters. It was he really that has given a more technical approach.
You're right with this conversation, Tom.
No,
Just checking.
I'm trying to get as much stuff.
Tom's
out of
a
him as
mad
possible.
South supporter. So.
I worked for South for 3 years, so I know all about South.
I did
Sorry,
too.
Didn't mean to cut
I
you
was
off.
there between 12 and 17.
I was 7, 8, and 9. So,
Okay, just before me. Anyway,
it's interesting. It's watching what they do and how it's evolved. The interesting thing is, I was actually talking to someone that he actually works for the Institute of Sports Australia, and they've got a program called Gen 32 for coaches who could possibly be the coaches at the 32 Olympics. And they've come to me. We've done some work with them, and we were just discussing what are the biggest influences in sport. What is the greatest changes? Where have we found? And it's come down to, it's quite interesting. You talked about phones. That is technology. Like now they use drones to get footage and angles you never did before. You're using heart rate, you're doing GPS and stuff like that. A good coach had that ability. That was the art of coaching. A good coach didn't have that technology. Now it makes it easier to do.
Yeah.
They were intuitive.
But coaches are still intuitive, but they trust the science and what you do if the science is right and you look at it and you go, okay, that backs up what I'm doing. Or if you get it wrong, you'll know. And good coaches will admit, well, I screwed up here. I didn't listen to the science. I didn't back it up. But some of it's hit and miss. I've seen over the years working with NRL, we'll bring in this technology, we'll do this, and then 2 years down, well, that was rubbish. Waste of money. So, but always comes down, like Pete just said with Bennett, the experience and the art of coaching is something you just...
Back in the olden days, I didn't even want you to wear a watch when you were wrestling and training. Now it's like all technology, belts and heart rate monitors and,
Well, the players wear GPS.
that GPS
jumpers.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Next year, you'll find most of the NRL, you'll probably find, I think maybe the AFL might be doing, but they're all going to have sensors in their mouth guards to measure deceleration forces. So when you get hit, boom, it measures your deceleration for force. Yeah. So that'll be because they're so worried about head injuries. So in the States, they already got them, but they're in the helmets. They already have that technology. I think NRL will be introducing it. Now it's going to be like, it's interesting. Pete must see it because boxing, when you get knocked out, how many days you got off?
It's a month.
Okay.
In boxing.
You get knocked out and out for a while. How long is it?
Yeah, of
3
course.
months. So whereas NRL now, they're going to start, imposing all those things where usually you've got 11 automatic days stand down.
Yeah.
You're going to find that there's going to be books. Okay, how many times have you been concussed, knocked out?
There's a formula now.
They're going to have to.
Well, even at my son's club now, the other week, and he's only 5 years old, they started doing benchmark testing with VR goggles and all that
That's
sort of
going to
stuff.
be,
It's starting from now, and that's going to be a permanent record moving forward as they go through the grades.
Costa said he did one, didn't he?
Yeah, all my 3 kids done it. They had it at their training session.
So what is it? Explain it.
They put
Benchmark.
on glasses and it's like they're playing a video game.
Yep.
And they've got to follow a dot with their eyes.
It's virtual reality. When you get concussed, your eyes are out of balance, so they don't move in a coordination. So it's one of the ways eye training is one way they try and recalibrate your brain. So they're VR glasses, virtual reality glasses, and it's for retraining your eyes to get over concussion. But you get a benchmark, like you said. It's really important.
So you're saying if you get concussed on the field, they take you off, put these glasses on, and they check.
I don't know if they do that yet. I know overseas they do.
I think they were using it basically to be able to track for an individual player down the track if there's any...
There's a benchmark, like
the
cognitive
before and
testing
after.
that.
Correct.
And if you can't reach that benchmark, you obviously got some neurological deficit or something like that. So obviously because contact sports, concussion, and then things like depression and that, they found serious links. So
well, my son got concussed not long ago, about a month ago. Not even 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and he had amnesia. He couldn't remember anything, and he kept on repeating himself. He never got knocked out. And so we didn't even know where he got hit. And I was at home when I got the call. I said, well, where did he get hit? In the temple? Was it a head, eye, hip? And no one could really tell. No one really saw it because he didn't get knocked out. But and his mate dropped him off, God love him, good kid, and he took us to the hospital. So I had no car. My oldest son's got the car. And we had to confirm. I wanted to know where he got hit. And my mate goes, he's just saying the same thing. He said about 200 times. So we went to the hospital, and we still couldn't tell. So he did a CAT scan, it was fine. And then when he raised his head, I saw bruising underneath his chin. So I thought that's where he got hit.
Maybe got head clipped.
He got. Well, apparently a boot hit him underneath, and he got concussion. But the doctor said 4 to 6 weeks, no contact sport, no training for a week.
Did you ever get knocked out when you were fighting?
No, I got dropped, but I got back up, and I get. It's a hard one,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I never got. You got knocked out, Larry?
The only time I've been out cold was playing footy, packed out for a scrum, and I remember it was against Kingsgrove North High School. And then all I remember is opening my eyes and I'm seeing blue sky, and I'm lying down. I sit up. I go, they're down that end of the field. Got up, mate. So apparently somebody giving me an uppercut in the scrum.
Really?
Was it league or union?
No, league. It was just, they were just dirty. It was quite funny. They pumped us about 80-0, and then the next year we came back. We got I went to Picnic Point High School, and they got, for guys who are old enough, there was Ted Glossop. He was the actual
coach
of Canterbury Bankstown. Yeah. So he came and our industrial arts coach brought in a proper footy coach. We had a proper footy team, and I remember we came up against Kingsgrove again, and they Picnic Point, we'll pump them, and we just destroyed them because we actually knew how to play footy properly.
Wow.
But that's where I learned to tackle. A lot of my stuff comes from back then. But getting knocked out is, and then I think my last pro fight, I got like a flash knockdown. And then when I got back, it was because I lost the first round, it was 3-5s.
Yeah.
And the guy got a 10-8 because I got knocked down. And then the next 2 rounds, I just destroyed him. I got 10-9-10. It was a draw. Though people said I should have won it because there was other stuff that happened. But I remember coming back and people said, what happened? I said, he tried to throw a kick and I did this and then that. And then I watched the video because you weren't getting instant replay. I watched the video. It was nothing like what I remembered. I was just like, okay. And I suspended myself from any contact. And I remember you see me in the last round. I'm on the ground hitting this guy and the bell goes. And I get up on one knee. You see me looking at my corner go, what round is it? So it was not good. Not a good. So that
things are improving.
That was kind of why I got a bit worried. I thought, holy shit, I'd never been sparked. Like, I mean, when I was a kid at school footy getting knocked out, I probably don't remember anything of it. But back then I knew, okay, that's not good. If I couldn't remember the fight and I was imagining things happened that didn't happen, that's not a good sign.
Well, on that point, let me ask you something, because in light of the interview we had with George Paxinos a few weeks back, famed neuroscientist, one of the things that came out of that discussion was the fact that he thought that contact sports should be going the way of the gladiators, and that there will be no place for that sort of sport long term in the future because of the head knocks and because of the long term effects of concussions and whatnot. What are your thoughts about that? It's hard for us to say that as well, given that we love this kind of sport.
And our kids are playing.
You've got to understand that the athletes are not the same as they used to be in the olden days. Science has moved forward as well. So as the athletes are getting stronger and more powerful, the concussions are going to get a lot less as well. I mean, I'm talking about the long-term concussions. So I look at old players now, like the likes of Gillespie, and a lot of them, a lot of ex-boxers, for instance, are punch drunk.
Mario, when he came to that.
Mario,
at Mario,
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't compare athletes today to the olden days. They're a lot more powerful and faster, and the nervous system's a lot more activated because of weights and of a good training program.
I think
Mario's copped, but speaking of Mario, he would have had how many concussions in his time?
Pete, I did a little workshop for Pete, and Mario came on. God bless him. He's a lovely man.
He is.
Repeats himself. Yeah.
And I think the kids were stunned that this guy was saying the same thing over and over. And it was stunning for me because I'd met him years ago when I was at Souths, and he was quite good then. And now it's just sad to see. And but if you asked him if he was in his right state of mind, again, to answer your question about combat sports or contact sports and where it's going to go in the future, if you ask him, he'll probably say, no, I'll do it all over again. I wouldn't want to miss the experience.
100%.
I think if anything ever happens where contact sports go the way of the dodo or go the way of gladiators, it won't be because of the athletes. It won't be because of the administrators. It'll be because of insurance. You won't be able to get insurance. It'll be through politicians. It'll be that. But if you ask the athlete, will you do it? Athletes will say, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And the danger is that when you start barring things, it goes underground. And then,
Good point.
or if you don't have the processes, people don't report concussion. So what will happen is suddenly, look at this, we've cleaned up the sport, there's less concussion.
Yeah.
Only because it's not getting reported. That's why the NRL are taking a great stand on it, where they're going, okay, we're going to keep a record. They're videotaping all of our contact sessions now to see if anybody gets concussed at training.
Yeah.
Because again, it's boxing, where's most head damage?
Yeah, of course.
Training.
Sparring, isn't
Sparring. Sparring is you're not fighting, actually sparring.
Well, look at kick out from the Bulldogs. He got concussed not long ago, last week I think it was. That's why he's been out for 2 weeks. So he got concussed at training. Wasn't in the
they're
game.
getting better. They're getting better, the doctors and science, and
But the concussions, when they do come, there's accidental contact, there's incidental contact. Anything intentional, like Rugby Union, and have gone very, very strict with it. You even touch the head, you're on the sideline, even if it's incidental or accidental. So you have a duty of care to look after the person. The hardest thing is combat sports like boxing, kickboxing, MMA. The MMA argument that small gloves are better because No, because what they found now, when I fought, I was quite fortunate. We had 8 counts.
That's good.
So when I got knocked down my last fight, I had an 8 count put against me, so I had time to recover, and actually kind of saved me. If it was MMA of today, it would have been game over.
Game over, yeah.
And I came back and did quite well. But it was on reflex, autopilot. Now the MMA is they're getting hit with a small glove, and as they go down, they get hit a couple more times. I think there was a study coming out now. They're saying the MMA guys are starting to show the problems that boxers had from continuous from being knocked out too many times. It's when you're not protected and you're getting hit, it's not good. You can see their heads on the ground, they're getting hit. Because they were arguing, you're not going to hit as hard because your hand is, you don't have a 10 ounce or 8 ounce glove on. That's rubbish. It's just like you're going to hit hard. So I've been hit like that.
So it sounds like from concussion, talking about your point, it sounds like it's going to, boxing and MMA is a lot worse than rugby league. So it sounds like there might be a decision first before it gets to league.
I don't
What's
think,
worse? You think league's just as bad?
You would be shocked at how many concussions some NRL players have. They might have had 50.
Oh, right, in a season.
No, not in a season, in their career.
Yeah.
Whereas boxers wouldn't have had you wouldn't have that many.
Because the ref gets in there pretty quickly.
Referee stops it. Also,
stops it pretty
strict
quickly.
rules of 30 days suspension. Up to, you get knocked out, you're out for any period of time. You're out for 3 months, and you've got to get a brain scan. Don't do that in league.
Yeah.
So
I guess maybe there's a bit of a myth. Everyone thinks if you get punched in the head, you get concussed. It doesn't always happen. That
not
easily.
everybody gets CET. That
CTE.
CTE.
Yep.
Some guys do, some guys don't. It just depends on you as an individual. I think I'm quite durable. I've been hit pretty hard. And Peter Graham, who's a former world champion in kickboxing and that fought for a minor world title in boxing. Pristine brain, really good cognitive tests and stuff like that. He's taken some big hits. Mark Hunt.
Is it
though
the
they've got
thickness of their skulls, maybe?
I think it's just how you're built. Things we try and work on is keeping their neck muscles quite strong, so it's that whiplash and also one of the benefits. I think boxing's good for league players. If they see things, they'll duck into it. If they're running with their chin up, they get hit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But if you get hit, that's why they're cracking down on getting hit from behind and stuff like that. That's why, out of all the sports, AFL is the worst.
Yeah.
I worked for the Giants and, mate, they're about to kick a ball and they're getting hit from the side, from behind, the whiplash, and they're not built for contact because they're whippets. You know, they're big, tall, lanky guys. Very few of them, none are built like me or Pete.
Yeah. They're like long distance runners.
They are. They're fantastic,
power.
and I see more horrendous injuries from the time I was in AFL. They're all got shoulder getting popped. They're down there and they're trying to pick up a ball and someone runs past and knees them in their head. It's really uncontrolled. I thought Union is pretty bad. Like when they do what they call when they're on the try line, they do pick and drive, where they just dive at each other's knees because you can't go high. I had a funny incident. They said, "Oh, what can we do here, Larry?" I said, "I've got nothing. This is just madness." I said, I don't know what you can do there.
Get out of the way.
Okay. They just do this thing when you're on the try line in Union. They just get low and burrow in. You got to aim at their knees just to get under it. It's not like, because you can't try and hook them and hold them because you'll hit the head. You get penalised. So they just go bang.
So head first into someone's
They just
knees.
go down like that. It's just, they just get under them. It's horrendous. So it's probably one of the most the most absurd thing I've seen in a contact sport. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, obviously we're talking about your association now with rugby league and those professional sports. A lot's been made of wrestling in rugby league over the last few years, particularly with the Storm and what they've been doing. What does a wrestling coach actually do for those who don't really understand? What are you brought in to help do?
You played league. You always wrestled in league. Once you hit someone and you stuck to them, you wrestled them down to the ground. So when I got brought in, it was pretty new. I started in 2005 at Parramatta. The guy that started at Storm was a guy called John Donoghue, and prior to that, when Bellamy was at Brisbane, they had another guy up there, and there was a fellow up there, Chris Haseman. And when Bellamy moved to Melbourne, he said, "Oh, look, do you know anybody who does wrestling and grappling or something like that?" And he said, "Oh, there's this guy, John." So John went down to, they got John in Melbourne, and he started at the Storm. Now, back then, it was not really policed. Nobody knew anything. So he didn't know that it was not contrary to the game, but he thought, oh, if you're allowed to do this, grab him by the neck, twist here, grab there. So they got away with it because Bellamy let it go. Then people started catching on, saying, well, this stuff's pretty destructive, it hurts people, so we've got to bar that. And so they got the bad rep, and some of it was deserved, but it was within the rules at the time. So they obviously changed the rules. Then Peter Sharp, who was down at Melbourne, moved to Para, and that's when they contacted me and said, do you want to come and help out? So I started at Parramatta, and compared to what I do now to what I do then, it's chalk and cheese. It's basically anything that's in wrestling. You very rarely get anything purely from wrestling that you can take to any kind of ball sport like Union, League, AFL. Some things we do.
Yep.
But what we generally do is we adapt. We don't adopt techniques. We adapt. We take this and say, well, that's a good technique or that's a good drill. A lot of the drills that we do, like how we train for this, that's what Rugby League have taken from wrestling, grappling, jiu-jitsu, is adapted drills and change them to fit league within the rules, or look at old league drills or union drills or AFL drills and say, how can we make these better? And that's the kind of influence people like I have on it. I don't go in there saying I know everything about rugby league. I don't. But I work with the coaches and work with the staff, and then we come up with ways of doing things better or better ways to train those particular techniques, and that's what happens. But that's the art of coaching.
Yeah. So can you give us some examples of what he's outlawed now that went on at Melbourne in the early days?
Definitely grabbing someone around the neck. I mean, they were literally just grabbing people around the neck and twisting, like going head and arm and just twisting someone.
So that was one, like literally you train. They used to train to grab someone, turn their neck.
Well, in Union, if you ever watch Union when they cleaned out in a scrum, they used to call it a gator roll. Like the guy's down, you reach over through the armpit and the head and just roll out, take them out. Now, that's banned from Union because it was putting pressure on the neck or head contact and stuff like that. So in League, there was a bit of that, and then they were treading on it.
I guess it's like the crusher tackle.
When I was at Parramatta, I worked with Rod Reddy. So if anybody knows who Rod Reddy is, he was considered one of the nastiest, dirtiest. But he was a mentor for me there, and he never showed me anything that was illegal. Like, he might have showed me, but didn't tell me to practice. He just said, in my day we do this and tread on this. So a lot of the stuff was around before people like me or the other coaches got there. But it was something individuals might have done as a bit of a niggle. It wasn't like a system of coaching or system of wrestling for the game. That's where it became like everybody tried to do it, and you just saw it. Yeah, people just doing crazy stuff that just had no place. And in the end, they worked out, it didn't really benefit the team. Well,
I guess in League, the tactic is to slow the player the ball down. And you want to slow him down.
But if you're trying to hurt people, then that was the problem that it became where the teams would have, like Melbourne got into trouble because they have a hit list and say, okay, so-and-so, he's got a bad elbow, he's got a bad shoulder, he's got a bad knee. So when you tackle, twist this or grab that, and that's where they got into trouble. So there was,
Melbourne had a list of, this guy's got a bad elbow. When you tackle him, grab that elbow and do this.
Okay, but that was people saying Melbourne did that, but trust me.
But everyone did it. Yeah,
they're going to say there's certain places, look, he does, what's the big blonde guy?
Peter Sterling.
No, the English fellow that does commentary now.
Graham. James Graham.
Well, teams would target his legs because his knees were so bad. So when you get knee injuries, you kind of like, you just fall. Someone touches them. You don't want to struggle out of it because you've had damage to your knee. So it's always been there.
Because Peter Sterling said it a couple of times. He goes, if someone came on with an injury, it's fair game. Because if you're on that field and you got an injury, well, we're going to target that injury. Well,
Rod Reddy told me he saw someone dislocate his arm. He's going, you all right there, mate? He goes, yeah. He's grabbed his arm, tugged on it, and ran off. It's just like he's a lunatic.
Well, even in my time in the game, before we would put pictures out from training, someone from the coaching staff would have a look at it to check that no strapping was being shown or anything like that would actually flag an injury for exactly that reason.
Okay. Ask Pete about boxing. What would you do if you knew someone had a...
Yeah, you target it. Even if there's a bit of blood, you just target the blood.
What if you knew his rib was busted?
Yeah, you hit the rib.
There you go.
That's how it is, where...
That's within the rules. It's not against the rules.
Yeah. It's a fierce game.
No, someone's ribs are gone. You tackle those ribs over
Absolutely.
And over.
But guys, my kids have been with Larry for 2 years now, and from day one, the kids learn how to do the single leg, double leg, and now it's kids love it. They've been with other wrestling coaches. I tell them, boys, you just want to go there? And they go, no, we want to go there. We want to go there. So Larry is adapted to the new changes, and because you see how they game, how fast it is. Now we hold the athletes in the air so we can slow the ball down. It's changed so quickly. Yeah. And the good thing with Larry, he works with all these changes, and I do recommend all the kids go and see him.
Thanks, good bloke. Good segue.
Got to send my son to you blokes, I reckon. He's only young, but maybe you can do something with him.
Definitely. My sons go to Pete, so I think that's your first port of call.
Well, the interesting
and Liam
thing...
did do it with Larry. Did a session with you as well.
He came to the little
Peter's
camp.
one. Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is, even before Nick had told me about you, Peter, there were other people who had said the same thing. So, the word's gotten around, and people around the area know.
But because one thing I've noticed about Pete, it's what we call a holistic approach. Pete's not just teaching them technique, but a little bit of morals and ethics. I know you do. You're really big on that. That's so important. I don't want, you don't want dickheads training. And you want decent human beings to come out of your... I'm not going to train an idiot.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to train a thug or someone that's going to be violent.
They lack respect, kids these days, and it's good if they have some form of discipline, that's what they lack. A lot of people lack discipline. Even going on events, they overdrink or overeat, so it's important that they go back into the old ways.
But the coach sets the example too. You've probably met coaches. I've met coaches with... we'll finish coaching. Let's go out for a drink. Or the coach instigates, or he's going to be a bit of a dickhead. He wants to be one of the lads. And I've found that with some NRL coaches that I've worked with. It's like, man, because they move from playing to coaching and just still want to be part of that. And some other coaches that I've met, auxiliary coaches, like on the mat or in the ring, they're the boss and they're telling you, and then off the mat, they're one of the lads trying to get up to no good ones. It's like, well, you're not going to get respect out of someone like that.
I want to say a name, but I probably shouldn't.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So that makes a big difference. And do you think those players will respect that coach moving forward? No.
But I must admit, going to you, Pete, it's like walking in and meeting all your clients, like a family.
It's a big family.
It's like I'm not Australian. As soon as I walk in, it's like, they're all my relatives here. And the good thing is, like you said before, it's more about my son sitting there, he's reading now because you're telling him he's got to read every day and he's got to do this.
Culture, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's an amazing culture, 100% what you're doing. And everyone knows you. Like I said, we were at Brighton the other day, and then people are coming past chatting to my son Liam because they train together. And every time I go in there, I know someone that knows someone that knows someone. You're definitely doing an amazing thing. That's why we wanted to bring you on.
Community. Community.
It's a great community,
So we wanted to touch on a little bit of mental health as well. So you're saying a lot of it comes from concussion as well. Do you think society has changed these days from where it was? Is it the digital side of things? Do you think there are aspects in society that have changed why we've got so much... again, we've got to disclaim that none of us are doctors here.
I was just going to say...
100%. Look, we're not doctors. It's just your opinion, because me and Tom talk about this a lot, and we do see a lot of people in our work industries that have got mental health issues, and there's all these courses going on. And
it's far more prevalent nowadays, isn't it?
There's a difference between what Pete said, people that are punch drunk. If someone has the black dog, if someone has that kind of depression or whatever, contact to the head is going to make it worse.
Yeah,
that's someone that probably shouldn't box, MMA, play footy. So from what I've seen is quite often you hear, look, I worked with Paul Green that passed away recently. I did a very short stint at the Bulldogs when Folksy was there. And, playing with trained guys, some football players that have taken their lives and the depression. So I think they would have had the depression, but probably the contact might have made it worse for them. So that's one thing I think.
Yeah, I've got clients that they take their medication first thing in the morning because I have to from the doctors, but they come to and train with me just to feel better about themselves. I'm thinking science and us coaches are getting more together with doctors, and we're working together because they're understanding that how important exercise is, how important lifting weights is. Yeah. So,
because I did read, and again, we can talk about this, but the World Health Organization said 1/3 of the world population has some sort of mental health. And the two biggest ones is depression and anxiety, are the two bigger ones. And in Australia, it's that as well. Again, it's what the stats say. Again, who knows what It's real.
I don't doubt it. Unfortunately, we've had several members. Look, I've had the gym now since the current gym. It's 25 years this year. We've had, maybe 4 or 5 people who unfortunately passed away due to their depression or, self-harmed. And quite often the family members will bring their equipment in or come in to make sure their membership is closed or something like that. And you always hear, I don't know if you've had any years, they were always happy in the gym. It was one of their happy places. Because physical exercise, that community is so important to these people. So I think a lot of health, my understanding is a lot of health experts or mental health experts say exercise is very important for mental health. So
definitely. I definitely say you got to have a connection with people, good relationships, which everyone does. As soon as they walk into your gym, everyone's mates, everyone knows everyone. Physical exercise you touched on, learning new skills. So these are all the things that they say you need to do to combat mental health. And you offer all of them in your gym.
And I think gratitude's a very big part too. I don't think we help each other enough. I think it's formed like a competition, and especially in these days, interest rates, the pressure of work, a lot of people are losing their jobs. Food prices are going up. I think there needs to be more help out there, you know.
I guess
social media, everyone's judging themselves on social media. Look, it's sort of a competition. People want to get that expensive bag or expensive car. We're not living within our means. We're trying to always compete with each other. I think that's why we have depression as well.
So do you think we've got too much information out there now?
100%. I see it with my kids with the phones.
Yeah.
You know?
The phone's massive.
It's terrible, you know? I wake up in the morning, I see the phone next to the kid's bed, and I tell them, I keep telling you. Or the teacher rang me up the other day. She had to confiscate the phone of my son. You know, I've constantly got to fight with them to take the phones off them. I sit with my children. I'm sure it's going to be with every single parent out there.
So what are the basics that you think kids need to be doing nowadays, or just anyone in general?
Yeah.
What are some very high-level tips that you can give to people?
Not believe anything they see. Look, I don't go. I know there's Instagram and look how good they're looking and look at how well they're doing money. It's
all bullshit.
So fake. So bullshit. Yeah. So how do you?
Yeah, sort of hard work, reading books. You know, even get yourself into cold showers. Find yourself a good coach. Any coach.
A good mentor or
something. A good mentor. Yeah. I think kids need mentors these days.
I think that's the key.
Stay off the phone, monitor these things, and parents need to get involved as well. Like something I do at night time when I'm bored, I just go do another task, and I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
If you work hard, like even doing your gardening, your lawns, your reading, try and keep yourself busy, you know, because we're all fighting a hard battle. But I think if you keep yourself busy and preoccupied, you keep those
that's a great point.
negative thoughts away.
Yeah,
social media, I don't have an issue if it's something educational, something you learn from.
Definitely, yeah.
So if you're looking up, I don't know what people look up. I tend to. My wife gets the shits with me. I'm always looking at politics or looking at something ancient Egypt. Or I don't know. I just.
No, that's good.
Yeah, but for me, it's. I find that interesting. You know, history and stuff.
But can it be too much of it though?
I think so. Obviously, if it's distracting, you're not doing other tasks that got to happen. But if I've got some free time and if I've got the phone or something there, it won't be to see what. A lot of people say, "Oh, look at your competition and see what they're doing." I say, I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
I don't believe anything they say. Like it's so competitive. I'm just worried about what I do, and I know what I do well, and that's what we advertise. So we don't try and be anything more than what we are. And it's quite interesting. Oh, you should put more social media. We'll put videos of the classes up, but looks good. It is good, but you look at other people. It's funny. So some coaches putting up little 60 seconds. I know it's good advertising because that's people's attention span now, isn't it? You can
Absolutely.
So
right.
is Instagram
if
like
that?
Yeah, that's what they're saying now. Actually,
Even less.
people are telling
TikTok.
you've got to put up
Less.
30 seconds.
If
You've got to
that.
say quick techniques on it, and that's how you do your advertising. It's just like, and I think that's a problem. For instance, my gym boxing works. We teach boxing. People come in, and if you're looking for just a quick fix, if you're just looking for a quick workout, then you can do that at Fitness First. But if you want to learn a skill set, skill-based conditioning, which is a kind of thing, then that's what we do. And then we have the community behind it, like what Pete has with his community. So that's a better formula for me for what I do. It's not the most profitable. I mean, if I did it the other way where it was just in and out, that'd be fine. You know, you'd be like an Anytime Fitness where you just have, 500-600 members and they all pay a small fee, but they're in and out and stuff like that. And that's what some of these new studios are. Whereas I think as a coach, I couldn't do that. It doesn't interest me, and I'd rather, have the baseline income that I've got now with the people that I have and the style of coaching and the philosophy of the gym. And
I guess it's your ethics. You want to give back, and I
want people to get something out of it that they can use. One thing I know about boxing, and I use boxing a lot because when I say boxing, it could be kickboxing, but Peter will tell you, if you box, you do boxercise. Say you just do that boxercise stuff, and you want to go to any other boxing gym around the world, you're going to walk in, you're going to go, I don't know what to do here. If you box properly, you had that experience when overseas, you can walk into a boxing gym, brother boxer, come in. You know what I mean? The interesting thing is wrestling. You can see my cauliflower ears. And wrestlers are like freaking dogs. Like, you'll look at someone, you think, is he wrestling? You look at each other's ears, it's like you're sniffing at each other's butt. Sort of looks, it's really funny. You'll do this and look at each other's ear.
He's one of my people.
That's how I met this guy. It's so funny. These friends of mine in Greece, they were training with this Brazilian guy that was coming to Greece for years. And then when I started coming, they got me to train them and whatever, and because he wasn't going back to Europe. And I was in Las Vegas. I was over there for, I think it was one of Pete's fights or whatever, and another Pete. And I was at the pool, and this guy's there, and then we just looked at each other and then spotted each other's ears. Wrestle, grapple, Ended up being the coach of the Greek guys. So then he said, come to my gym. And that's what I found with sport. One great thing about it is if you do something like boxing or wrestling, because it's such a pure sport, come to the gym. You can go anywhere around the world, walk into that gym, and you'll be welcomed into that gym and you'll train. Because if you do boxing or you do one of those good combat sports where it's all about hard work and you really are a warrior, you're invited with other warriors. Wow. I don't see that in many other sports. Yeah.
No. Well, even developing the glutes, it does take 3 years. You look at F45, I think 3 or 4 stores just closed down because it doesn't work in 45 minutes. Exercise is not like that. It's a lifetime, Repair, you got to understand about exercise philosophy, hypertrophy. There's a lot to it. So
it's a lot of your research. I think you told me you look at NFL players.
100%.
You do a lot of reading on them and their techniques, and your programs change quite regularly. From what you've read
always change the programs. I've got clients that have been with me for 18 years, 18 years, 9 years, 8 years, 7 years. If I'm not changing the program, they're going to get bored or they're going to leave me. That's you got to be on top of the game. You've got to be reading. You've got to be studying. I've done my diploma. I'm with Australian Strength and Conditioning. I've done my level 1, level 2. There's a job for South Sydney now, high performance coach, because they've built that high performance. It's everyone's going that same way. That's how it is now. Science has gone too far, and if you're not on top of your ball game, someone else is knocking at your door.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Nick?
Yeah. Look, I know I've got to get there. I've got to get off my ass. But,
likewise.
But look, you're doing a good thing, Pete. Like, honestly, I keep on telling you, and every time I mention your name, everyone knows you. Oh, yeah, I know Pete. Yeah, I know someone that knows him. So you've got a really good name out there. But it's more about the community aspect. And you've taken personal training to a new level. It's not like he's had to do the exercise. You give good reasons why. Like, I know my son comes in and he fucking babbles on. He goes, Dad, you got to do this because that's what it means. And this helps you with that. And this helps you with this and so forth. So it's not just doing an exercise. There's actually a life skill on why you should be doing it and how it helps your skeletal muscles and all that sort of stuff.
Everything's to do with connective tissue, and you can see the way sport's going now. So it comes through the basics. Yeah. And like Larry says, it all through the basics. You focus on your flexibility, your mobility. A well-prepared athlete will always be a novice athlete. Hard work will always be talent, they say.
Yeah.
You work hard at something, Look at the likes of Cooper Cronk.
Yeah.
I don't really have to say, Yeah. Now he's doing well at Foxtel, you can see. 3 grand final, 3 in a row. Cooper Cronk.
Well, you won,
3 in a row,
2 with Roosters, 2, 1 with Melbourne or something, 2,
Yeah.
So,
it was never meant to be a halfback.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, you played injured in the last grand final, wasn't he?
The second last one. Broken shoulder blade.
Yeah.
So he played with a broken shoulder.
He basically broke it with Melbourne, with South.
Yeah.
And we were like, well...
Is he gonna? Is he not?
So what happened is it was okay. We'll see how he goes. They basically
So just
scanned
explain
him
to our listeners.
at the grand final.
So he's a player for the Roosters. He
Yes,
played
he
in a
was
semi-final against Souths.
Yeah, and he got hit from behind. Might have been by Burgess, and
It was
fractured
Sam.
his shoulder blade in a couple of places. So it was actually fractured completely. It wasn't just cracked, and it was in a couple of pieces. And they thought, well, okay, well, will he be able to play with it? Because it needed plating. Right up until the last, I think, 45 minutes, they went out, did the warm-up. I think they scanned it just there and then to see had it moved, were jagged things in there. Gave him painkilling injections. Okay, he can play. This is like, and he could have been pulled out now before the grand final.
Wow.
Could have been last minute. So, but he played. He made one tackle, which is amazing that he could have even tackled with
Saved
one
the
arm.
game with the pilot,
Yeah, so amazing that he played and did well. It was just
So
amazing human being. Yeah.
So one
Wonderful.
of the toughest sports in the world. A guy, and he's not the biggest guy. He's one of the smallest guys on the field, and he plays with broken bones in his broken shoulder. That's amazing.
Well, Sam Burgess played with a broken cheekbone, and
Yeah.
there's stories. Who's the guy? Who was it just recently died?
John Sattler with the
Sattler.
broken jaw.
Yeah, he had the
Broken
broken
jaw.
jaw.
What does it say about these individuals, the mental state of these guys, and the mental toughness
That's
to
what
be
it
able to
is.
do that?
Mental toughness. That's toughness. There's one thing being durable, being able to take a hit. There's another thing to be able to take a hit and stick to you, like in boxing.
Yeah.
A tough fighter doesn't mean he's durable. You go, oh, he's tough. No, he can take a hit.
Yeah.
Tough is the guy that's getting hit and hits back and still sticks to his game plan and fight. That's what mental toughness is. Mental toughness,
Yeah.
but also just toughness in general. There are people you say he's durable. That's it. When people see people getting beaten up. Oh, he's tough. He's not tough. He's just dumb. You know, it's
And I
just
feel like this is what Pete's talking about as well with kids. You know, like the level of mental toughness of kids nowadays. Like that's obviously what we need to be working on, isn't it?
But they are tough. The children are indestructible, believe it or not.
They're
I've
fearless,
seen it. They're
usually.
fearless, and they don't break bones as easy as adults do. So they are fearless kids, and they just basically need to find the truth.
I think when you look at you source athletes, you look at they break it down talent identification. They look at anthropometry, so body type. They look at physical capacity, and then they look at mental capacity. But probably 60% of it is mental capacity. So their determination, their ability to their courage, and then their ability to focus. So if a kid, you can make someone bigger and stronger. Give them all the technique in the world, and that's fine. But if they're not courageous enough to have a go, if they don't have the determination to keep going, and if they don't have the discipline or the thing to take advice and do that, then they'll never be great at that sport. I think the kids, you've got to look at the mental side more than just the physical side, because we know we can make them stronger, faster, and whatever. And if you can get that mental side, that determination, that courage, that and focus, there's a couple of things that you look
Aptitude, how quick
for.
you can
Yeah,
learn.
it's the ability to.
So is this what some of the great coaches now look at?
Well, you remember the discussion we had about Nico Hines in Melbourne. He wasn't necessarily one of the best players, but Craig Bellamy brought him on and said, there's something in this kid.
Well, he hadn't seen him. He hadn't seen him play football. And he did that military boot camp.
Yeah.
And the trainer said, there's something about this kid. And he had a quick chat and he goes, yeah, sign him up. Hadn't seen him play football. But like you're saying, I think it was the 60% mental that said there's something in him. We'll mould the rest. We'll teach him the skill and we'll build his body. But it was something he had mentally.
And he won a Dally M.
Yep.
And you can't. That's sometimes something you can't teach.
No.
You can try and nurture it, and it's talent. Like you talked about talent. There's a great book called The Curse of Talent, and when you go, oh mate, you're the best. You're going to be the best. It's just like the good coaches go, look, if you work hard and that natural ability you got, then you can achieve something. But your ability alone is not enough. You have to work hard. So when you couple hard work with, some natural gifts that God's given you, then good times. But most of those good, like Cronk's a good example, and Kiri, Luke Kiri, guys like that, they're not gifted physically.
No, they're not.
Kiri's nothing. It's like this.
Schoolboy.
Small guys, you know. It's just like, so there must be something. Yeah, if you look at it, then you got to look at the mental side of it. That's what's really important. You know, trainability and all those other kind of things as well.
Because I say that Pilates has got a good act for picking talent. Is that what you think it is? He looks at the mental side of things?
I don't know that side of it. I've never been involved in that side, just with the training side. But I'd say that's probably true, you know. But I'd say he trusts the people around him. He gets the right people around him to pick the right players. But yeah, it's a bit of a lucky dip, isn't it, with Rugby League? It's funny how one player does really well at one club, goes to another one, just doesn't suit him, doesn't perform well.
Different style.
So
They've got the Canberra, Australian Institute of Sport in Canberra for a reason, to keep it away from the city life. And you have to praise the teams like Sydney Roosters, the athletes being in the city, so much temptation. So it's not just about training, it's their mental state, I think.
Definitely.
Robinson has got him in a good state, you know, because he does change the athletes and gives them a good mindset. So I have to praise him for that.
So what's the ratio of kids that play SG ball, which is, what's that, under 19s? How many of them would go on to make a career or get into first grade? I don't think it's that high, is it?
honestly, I don't know it's not that. Well, look, I can tell you through the Sydney Roosters, two people that went through from junior reps up is Mitch Orbison and Jake Friend.
That's it.
That's
Radley.
pretty good. Then you have Victor Radley.
Yeah.
So generationally, you're lucky if one of those kids will come out of there.
We can't let you go without asking you. So who are the next good kids coming through that you think will make first grade?
You don't know until they get there. Just trying to think.
Son, what's he like?
I've dealt with him a little bit, but
he's
not
in the
much.
Harold Matthews side,
Yeah,
isn't he?
so I didn't do much work with Harold Matts this year.
Yeah.
The one that they're saying is not going to be too bad is Siwa Wong, but he's still young. They've still got to learn. Obviously, what's his name? The one that just got signed to Suwali. I mean, when he came, he's something special. He really is as good as they say. It's just like, but he's one of the first people to turn up to a session. He's one of the last that leave the session. He'll do extras. He'll come up and ask, Laz, what did you think? What did I do? He asks. He's not afraid to ask if he doesn't know. And I think that's why he is probably going to be worth every cent they spend on him. The guy is not only just a great athlete, but his mentality is perfect. So I think whatever sport he does.
Okay.
Have a look at his step on him. You talk about agility. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
For a big kid like that.
Yeah, you watch the way he steps people.
And he's fearless. Just runs head first.
As good as Sonny Bill Williams, they say, I think Suwali's going to be much better.
Yeah,
Really?
I agree with that, actually.
Yeah. And great. His family are wonderful people. He's a good kid himself. He's got everything going for him. So that's one kid that's not through our system, but came up through. But he was a
South Junior.
South, but he played Union before.
He did play Union,
so,
yes.
Yeah. So those guys, what's the hooker for South?
Peter?
Great kid, Peter
Mamazelos.
Yeah, he's not bad, is he?
Yeah.
He's going well.
He sat in that chair, actually. he was here not
Because
long
what was
ago.
his? Where did he come up through? I can't remember. He's
South Juniors as well.
South
Yeah,
Juniors.
so, there you got someone that's through the
Lions.
system. So he's good. And then you got Damien Cook, who was a touch footy player.
Yeah.
Who expected that?
Yeah.
So-
Well, he's got an amazing story. He couldn't get in at the Dragons. And then I can't remember the coach, might have been Steve Price, said, look, you're not a first grader. So he went back to playing in the Illawarra area. And then Bulldogs picked up Leisha. And they said, we need a backup for Leisha to play hooker. So they picked him as a backup. And then Leisha got injured and he had like 2 or 3 games. And then South said, well, we'll take on this guy. And then he ended up playing for Australia.
I did his first interview at South when he came over.
Yeah.
And I said to him, what's your, one of the questions was, what's your goal? And he goes, I'm going to make the Blues. He barely played first grade at that point. He'd only played a few games for Saints and then for the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Well, Bulldogs, he got noticed. They go, hang on, who's this guy? He's got something.
Yeah.
And then South picked him up. And then Bulldogs was too late to sign him because he was already gone.
And here he is telling me, I'm going to make the Blues squad. And he did.
Yeah. And then Australia, probably Australia's best hooker for the last couple of years, whatever it was. But yeah,
That's probably arguable.
or
the
maybe
last
not. He
couple
had
of
Cameron
years, but-
Smith. Sorry, well, he played for Australia. You can't get bigger than that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done well for himself.
Yeah, but it goes to your point. You can't pick them. So how do you know? This
Well,
guy's
what
been
do they
around
pick
for.
him on his mentality, on his determination, on his courage?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, one coach said you're not good enough to be a first grader.
based on what? On his abilities or on his mentality? You know what I
point.
mean? That's where a good coach, like I said, master
We'll break it
coaches,
down.
will
to
be
more
able
detail.
to break you down, build you up, make you better than what you are. And I think that's what good coaching's about, is seeing what you can do with that person, and you don't give up. Well, just that art of coaching.
Yeah.
Okay, the science won't get you there. The
Yeah.
philosophy, it's that art of coaching that really comes down to it. So, like Pete says, if you want to do any kind of training, to find that coach that not only can coach you but inspire you, and has that holistic approach to understanding that sport isn't everything, but you got to have balance in every part of life as well. So,
But that word holistic, I think that's the big takeout for me out of this. It's not just about it's not enough to just be about one particular thing. If you don't take in the whole picture, everything is relevant to the other. Without investing in all of these things, I don't think you can get
Everything
the
ties in.
original. Yeah.
yeah.
I think you've summed it up. The one I got out of is the mental bit. So 60% mental. Someone who's really focused and determined can beat a good athlete. And a good athlete
Well,
doesn't
with
necessarily
training,
mean...
if you've got that mental...
if you both have the same training. But that's what I get out of a lot. And a lot of your work in the gym, Pete, a lot of it is mental.
Well,
It's
look
nearly
at
all
the
mental.
UFC fight today at Asanya. He's lost to this guy 4 times, hasn't he? And he's going to fight him again now. So you talk about...
He wouldn't be fighting him if he didn't think he could beat him.
Yeah, that's right. I know. But,
Yeah.
that takes mental,
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I tell you what, boys, I think you're doing God's work with your athletes and all the people that are coming to you. Like I said, we've heard so much about both of you and the work that you guys are doing. We just love the fact that you guys have taken the time to be on this podcast, talk about your Greek heritage, and talk about the work that you do. Thank you both so much for being here. It's been a fantastic discussion. Thank you, boys.
Thank you for having us, guys. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Boys, it's been awesome. And like I said, you guys are very prominent in the community. Your name pops up a lot, especially with training and the psychological behind the training. But if people had to come and reach you, Pete, where would they reach you? How can they get a hold of you, apart from coming to us?
You can get me on Facebook, my website. So
What's your website?
www.manesisfitness.com.au, or just email me, peter@manesisfitness.com.au, or just put my name up, Peter Manesis will come up. I'm all over social media.
Definitely. I can highly recommend it. And you, Larry, who
And
can we
just
reach?
larry@boxingworks.com.au.
Perfect.
Fantastic. Nick, I think I'm going to take you up on all this. At some point, I'm going to have to see these blokes and start sorting this all out, I reckon.
Definitely. Well, I think we
Let's
might have to
turn a
go in
page.
together. We might have to.
I think so. We'll do a Uzo Talk fitness session. What do you reckon?
Well, we're in good company, mate.
We are.
We're in good hands.
No longer the battle of the bulge. What do you reckon?
Yeah, maybe you should have an abs competition.
Definitely.
Could be.
Definitely. UzoTalk@outlook.com is the email. Follow us on social media at UzoTalk or at Uzo_talk on Instagram. Nick Athanasiou, mate. Always a pleasure.
Tom, love you, mate. This is the best. Thank you.
See you next
See
time,
you,
guys.
everyone. Bye.
Ακολουθήστε μας στο Soundees, στο Spotify, στο Apple Podcasts και στο Google Podcasts.